French police going off in an unbelievable display of force in Saint-Denis, France today as they were searching for the ringleader in the deadly Paris attack. According to some reports, he was killed during that overnight raid. That reporting coming from the Washington Post, not yet widely confirmed, though, and we are waiting for more on that. There is a picture of Aboud, the man that they are searching for. They know that 2 terrorists were killed in that raid, another 8 new people now taken into French custody. But tonight, rumors are swirling. Was Abdelhamid Aboud killed in that raid? And what was his connection to the female jihadist who, on sight of the French police in that apartment, pulled the cord and blew up her suicide belt and killed herself in that firefight? France 24 anchor Tom Burges Watson is joining us live now from Paris. Tom, what can you tell us about those 2 elements to this story tonight?
Well, as you say, and actually, as we heard in that audio clip, the firepower there in that raid this morning, in the early hours of this morning, it carried on for 7 hours, was so great. 5,000 bullets were used in total. And that building is actually at risk of collapse this evening. The floor has fallen through of the apartment where the terrorists were hiding out. Extraordinary scenes there this morning. Now, who was that woman who was in that building who blew herself up? That's the question a lot of people here are asking this evening. Was she the wife of the prime suspect you just mentioned there? Was she a cousin? Some reports suggesting she was a cousin. They've named her as Hasna. That's the first name that I have seen circulating there. As I say, this is unconfirmed. The other aspect of the story is that 2 people were killed there, not least the woman who blew herself up, but another man as well. But the firepower and the damage in that building is so bad, it was so heavy, that they can't actually tell if 2 people died there or 3. And they certainly can't identify them based on physical appearances, because the bodies are riddled with bullets, the building is riddled with bullets, and there was an explosion. So they've got a difficult job on their hands identifying who those people were, and that's a job for the forensics teams.
Yeah. Any indication of how long that will take?
No indication at this stage, but obviously the forces here in France under a huge amount of pressure to come up with answers, and to come up with answers fast, because the general public up until this point has been pretty understanding with the authorities. I very much have the feeling that the general public is supportive of the authorities, but how long that goodwill goes on for and that sense of support will depend on whether or not the authorities continue to provide answers, and those are answers that everyone here in France wants, and they want them as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Tom, I'm just curious, before I let you go, what else you're learning about Aboud. We know he went back and forth from Syria. There's also a report today in the New York Times here in America that he had brought his younger brother, a 13-year-old, with him back to Syria, and that angered his family so much that they wanted him dead. What are we learning about him?
Well, you're right to bring up the story about his family. He comes from a family which, by all accounts, sounds quite a loving family. But he did this bizarre thing. He took his 13-year-old brother with him to wage jihad. That's what we understand. So, of course, his family despises him. And what we've found out about him subsequent to those events is he's had a social media presence for about 2 years now. And he is a boastful, vain man. He boasts because he evades the authorities, and he has done so quite successfully, crisscrossing from Europe back to Syria and back into Europe again, each time undetected. The other thing he can boast about is the fact he has managed to recruit in numbers that we haven't seen elsewhere. He's from Belgium, and let me just point out, Belgium has a population of around 11 million people. He's managed to recruit 520 jihadists. That means that Belgium per capita has more jihadists than any other country in Europe. That's quite an achievement on his part. And he's doing this by recruiting in the French language. His videos go out in French. Also, France has a big problem. There are more French jihadists than there are jihadists of any other nationality in Europe. So he's been successful on several counts. And his other success is obviously the planning that's gone into these attacks. What happened on Friday the 13th last week was a well-planned attack. No one can deny that. 3 separate teams, 3 cars, and so far more questions than answers.
Yeah, great points. And he managed to find at least 7 or 8 people who were willing to take their own lives in this mission, which is tougher than it seems to do, even in this environment. Tom, thank you so much. Great to have you with us tonight.